Well, good afternoon. It is Sunday, February 16th, Journal 283, T plus 319. Um, I mentioned the other day that I was working on a presentation that I'll be making at the end of March down in Carlsbad. And one of the elements of the presentation is something that I spend a lot of time thinking about. Um, One is the dichotomy that exists between instinct and intuition and systems and processes. Um, they seem on the surface very, very different, and yet they really aren't. They're all four integral components of success, in my opinion, at least. It takes all four to succeed. Instinct and intuition have kept us alive on the planet for years, and they're certainly essential when it comes to determining what to do and whether or not you should do it. Systems and processes are equally as important once you've made the decision when it comes to execution and implementation. So they all have a place. And one of the ways that you fine tune each of these, obviously, is by practicing and working on it constantly. But there's also, a certain amount of technology involved. And I think that that's important, especially when it comes to identifying what works and what doesn't work. And I think today, because I've been thinking about it all morning, quite frankly, it seems like a really good subject for us to talk about and for me to visit. And it has to do with the essential components of creating positive change, and doing it in a way that transcends by gosh and by golly, which is the way a lot of people seem to approach these things. And I don't know how much sense that makes. So let's take a look at it for a minute, because there are 10 essential elements here that go into it. And the thing that's really interesting, to me at least, is the fact that in many cases we don't even think about it. We employ all 10 of these without really breaking them down. And I think breaking them down helps. The first thing to do is especially when you're talking about any kind of substantive change, whether it's in your personal life or whether it's in your professional life, is to establish a baseline. Take a snapshot. Figure out where you are. How are you going to know whether or not whatever it is that you're doing or did moved the needle in the positive direction if you don't know where you started? The three essentials of movement really are establishing a baseline, knowing where you are, having a vision, knowing where you want to go, and having a plan, figuring out how you're going to get there. So establish a baseline. I think that's where everything starts. The second element would be to identify and clearly define the problem that you're trying to solve. So identify and clearly define the problem that you're trying to solve. If you can, determine the cause of the problem. What is causing you the angst and the anxiety that has you so focused on, and the fact that you need change, that you must change, that you have to change. Come up with a number of solutions, possible solutions, focused on moving you in the direction you want to go. Work hard to identify what the best solution is. Choose the best solution, and do that based upon this notion of a pre-mortem. And we've talked about that in previous blog posts. But take a look at what could possibly happen, what could possibly go wrong, as if it already went wrong. Let's say you have a possible solution, attack that solution, assume that it wasn't successful, and then work your way through all the things that made it unsuccessful. If you identify all the things that could possibly go wrong, all the things that could make that solution fail, then you have, at least you have a chance of figuring out what you need to do to prevent that from happening, what you need to do to avoid that outcome. The sixth thing you need to do is execute or implement change. In other words, implement or execute the plan that you've just come up with to solve the problem. And then stop for a minute when you've been involved in this for a while and measure your results. And you can do that on a number of different platforms. You can do that in a number of different ways. Measure your results. You know where you started, you know where you are you moving in the right direction? And how fast are you moving in the right direction? Analyze those results, evaluate what you've learned, and then lather, rinse, repeat. Love the telephone. Robocalls are wonderful. I'm going to ignore it. I hope you can too. Lather, rinse, repeat. As you go ahead, because there's no problem that you're ever going to have that's going to have one solution and one solution only. At least that's been my experience. Life just isn't that neat and orderly. So that's one of the ways that you do it. Establish a baseline, identify the problem, determine the cause, develop solutions, choose the best solutions based upon what we learned about pre-mortems and how you can go ahead and at least, work your way using your imagination through potential failures, implement and execute the change that you have decided to make, measure the results so you know whether it's working or not, and you're not just guessing, analyze, evaluate, and then repeat. Okay, something to think about. Tomorrow is Monday, the 17th. I have an appointment out at the City of Hope. We're going to be going out there in the morning. Hopefully, it's going to be a rough week this week, actually. I have 3 appointments at the City of Hope. I have one patient family advisory council meeting. I have a doctor's appointment on Monday, and I have another doctor's appointment on Thursday. So we'll see how prolific I can be with regard to these blogs once I'm in the middle of all of that. In the meantime, stay well and take care. And that's it for now.